Hello everyone, and welcome to your second royal reading of today, a Wednesday afternoon. We're galloping towards the end of the year, and I have had friends with me a little bit late, so keeping it short and not that sweet. I thought it would be sweeter, but we're playing a bit of Game of Thrones today in our readings. We've looked at Harry and the Nostradamus prophecy that Harry one day would be king, and well, not one day, in 2024 might be king. Now I'm going to look at a Tom Bower story that was recently a recent interview of his in Closer magazine, and he said that Meghan Markle wants everything that Kate has. She wants to be queen. Going to look at this story with the Rebel Heart Tarot, another little 5-card reading. I'm going to look at this. Does Meghan really want to be queen? How does she feel about the fact that Catherine is going to be queen? And is this why she left? According to Tom Bower, it is. She doesn't want to be fifth in line with Harry. She wants to be Queen Bee. She realized she couldn't compete with Catherine. She realized Harry didn't have much money. She realized that Frogmore Cottage was as good as it was going to get. I think if they got Frogmore House, she would have been much happier. She might have stuck around. So in high dudgeon, she took herself off to California. Couldn't compete with Catherine. Can't bear the notion of Catherine being queen and not her. Thought that the monarchy was kind of a popularity contest. Didn't really get the idea of hierarchy. We have looked at that way back when on this channel. We're going to look at it again because the story has come back up, and it is a pairing with that Nostradamus prophecy that people have been talking about recently about Harry, the horror. So we're going to look and see how Meghan would like to be queen, how she feels about Catherine being queen. Is the fact that she can't compete with Catherine the real reason that she left the UK and took Harry off with her to go and seek their fortune in California? And chances of Meghan ever being Queen Meghan, Queen Bee, Queen Mee, as I'm going to call her. And I think we're ready to go. And we'll shuffle. Just have to get the energy proper. There we go. We're okay now, and let's remind you as I do this that this is tarot for fun and entertainment. It's all speculation, all my opinion. I just read energy, and of course there is a disclaimer in the box below. Let's see if Tom Bower is reading the situation correctly. He did, of course, write a book on Meghan, so he should know. Queen of Cups in reverse, that's interesting. That's the Queen of Hearts, of course, in reverse. We know that Meghan fancied herself as the second coming of Princess Diana. She thought she was going to be as popular as Diana. She portrayed herself as that to Harry. Queen of Cups is the Diana card, of course. Water sign woman, Cancer woman. In reverse, didn't work out. People didn't get swept up in a kind of Meghan mania, and she turned out to be quite disengaged, quite cold. There was, of course, the bullying allegations that have never gone away, never been proved, never been disproved. That's hung over her like a cloud. There's lots of crying and lots of drama and things like that. That's Queen of Cups in reverse. So I think a failure with the Queen of Cups in reverse to engage with people at an emotional level, to be relatable, to be popular. Situation, that's the underlying energy. Page of Swords in reverse. The Page of Swords in reverse is about criticism. And that, of course, is the criticism, Daily Mail comments, the social media, the platforms where people chat and collect and swap stories and stuff like that, make jokes. It's all of that Page of Swords in reverse. That's spending a lot of time online. As we know from the Netflix documentary that Harry and Meghan do, they seem to spend a lot of time online reading about themselves, seeing what people say, trying to get people demonetized, taken off, deplatformed, all the rest of it. That is the Page of Swords in reverse. So it didn't go the way it was supposed to go. Queen of Cups in reverse and Page of Swords in reverse. It's ended up being quite hostile, quite nasty. Bots may be involved. There's speculation about that. There are a lot of things that go on social media that maybe are a little bit questionable, because the card is in the reverse, secretive, little maybe not clear about who's who and what's what and what's going on. So that's interesting. That's the actual story that we are dealing with. Would Meghan Markle like to be queen? The Hermit. Oh, how interesting. That's the Harry card, of course, the major arcana for Harry, Virgo. The Hermit tells me that as this Hermit opens the door to that funny little house, that she thought that he was her ticket to the top job. I think Tom Bauer is onto something here. My personal opinion, of course, he was expressing his. I am finding energy in this reading that tends to support his opinion. The Hermit, of course, is Harry. Harry's opening that door. It looks a bit like that first little, was it Nottingham cottage? I can never remember the name of that first funny little cottage that he was staying in when she appeared in his life. Before Frogmore Cottage. For a while they seemed to move out to Soho House, the one out in the Cotswolds, and stay there. It looks like she sometimes would arrive with kind of muddy heels, and people speculated that she'd been clomping through or down country lanes on her way to whatever helicopter. I'm going to get the giggles. Not quite that, but you know what I mean. I think she thought precisely what Tom Bauer said. She thought it was a popularity contest. He probably over-egged his importance, and he was going to co-rule with William, and he was going to get half the Duchy of Cornwall and Nottingham Cottage, or whatever it's called. A rather cute little place. William and Catherine lived there at some stage, and I think Princess Eugenie also lived there, or lives there. I'm not sure where she lives now. Portugal. But she thought that Frogmore House would be a shoo-in, or Windsor Castle. We know that she wanted Windsor Castle, allegedly. I have read on that in the past. But there's the funny little house, the funny little cottage. It didn't turn out the way she thought it was going to. But I do think that she thought Harry was her ticket to the top of that Christmas tree, shall we say. How does she feel about the fact that Catherine, the current Princess of Wales, now officially a princess, that Catherine is in due course, if everything goes according to plan, going to be queen? How does she feel about that? Four of Swords. This is devastating. It's calamitous. It's ruin. The Four of Swords is something that's devastating. It's something that's heartbreaking, a loss, a death, a defeat, and you have to slink away and lick your wounds, go and float in your pool in that case, but not very healthy energy with that giant saw there. It's quite self-destructive, the way this card is depicting the energy in this tarot deck, this Rebel Heart Tarot, of almost self-sabotage that's involved here. I think she couldn't believe it, and still can't believe it, that it didn't work out for her. Queen of Cups in reverse and Page of Swords in reverse, and that the Hermit only got that mean little cottage for her. They spent £2 million doing up, and a lot of people, myself included, believe that they never actually lived there. It was just not good enough. But Four of Swords, it was just terrible. It was a terrible shock to her, a terrible blow, one that she's really had to disappear to recover from, because the Four of Swords, you take time out, you go to Canada and you disappear for a while. And you have a think and you wonder, how am I going to recover from this devastating blow? I think when it penetrated that, in fact, the tour to Australia wasn't that successful. The one to South Africa was a disaster. That the interview with Tom Bradby about, oh, nobody asked if I was okay, really didn't do well, didn't set the right note. A lot of speculation that they were hauled over the coals for things that had happened on both those tours, and that it was the end, off, gone, okay, bye. So let's just see. Next card. Is this the reason why she left? That she wasn't going to win a popularity contest with Catherine? Catherine was by right and hierarchy and status the one who was going to win always. Meghan would always have to be walking behind her, would have to curtsy to her. Her children would always be behind in status. Is that why she left? Nine of Swords. It certainly was a subject, a source of terrible stress for her. Worry. How am I going to deal with this? This is not in my nature to be second. I'm first. I don't want to be second. I don't want to walk behind. We saw them push those chairs aside in Westminster Abbey, that last official occasion, in that green praying mantis outfit, some people call it. And some people also speculated they were recording for Netflix, and they managed to push those chairs aside and scuttle to the front to beat poor Edward and Sophie back into the procession. That was the appalling occasion where they made such a fuss, allegedly, that William and Catherine, who were supposed to be in the procession, had to sit out and not process with the rest of the royals, and so as not to cause offence to Harry and Meghan. So there it is, Nine of Swords, definitely a source of worry, anxiety. How am I going to deal with this tossing and turning at night? You told me that you were going to rule with William, and you lied to me, Has, and this is not the way it's working out. And they're so jealous of us and so threatened by us. We can't stick around, we'll have to go. All of that, I speculate, is in that Nine of Swords. Tell me now, and I shudder to think, my personal opinion, is it likely that we will ever see Meghan Markle on the throne as the Queen of England? Sun in reverse, that's a big, hearty no. And we can all breathe a sigh of relief. The Sun is the top job, illumination, spotlight on. It's a Leo card. It would just be the most wonderful thing that could ever happen. Center of attention, all the notice, all the glory, all the power would be on that person if the card was upright. But it isn't. It's in the reverse. Gloom, depression, misery, not being the center of attention. That's a no. Sun card in reverse is a no. So it's an interesting little reading, this. I think Tom Bower was onto something. And the fact that Meghan wants it all, wanted to be queen, wanted everything that Catherine, let's call her Catherine, not Kate, wanted everything that Catherine had, wanted to be Queen Bee, and was sold a bit of a line by Harry there, the hermit, with that tiny little cottage and no money, and had to really withdraw because of this disappointment, this humiliation, this devastating realization that Catherine really was going to be it and she wasn't going to be it. Very stressed about it, very anxious about it, very disappointed. I can imagine in here the energy that's coming through is that there's some conflict around this with him. They might have had some real stand-up fights about this before disappearing on a plane to Canada. We saw her famously that one and only time she visited her theatre, it was the National Theatre, her patronage, famously with the rings off, just before she disappeared to Canada. Chances of being queen? Absolutely not. The Sun in reverse. What's going on underneath? Queen of Cups in reverse. Never connected with the British public. Wasn't popular. Thought she was going to be Diana too. Never happened. And a lot of criticism, a lot of stuff that she couldn't control on social media, a lot of negative comment and criticism that she really found very difficult to deal with. And one of the reasons I also believe we have the Four of Swords and the Nine of Swords, a lot of mental stress in this reading and self-sabotage, very negative thinking, very toxic thinking. I think when it dawned on her that this was as good as it was going to get, it really was quite devastating for her. Interesting. That's your reading for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again tomorrow.